We are so close to the end of this game, y'all, and it has been a roller coaster most of the time. And with only 4 people left, there's only a few more shots left to take. The only question is, will somebody be able to take a shot at the biggest target? There is a lot to talk about today, including the HOH and veto results. But before we get into all that, please make sure you hit that subscribe button below if you have not already. Even though BB will be coming to a close soon, I still talk about other shows on my channel too, and it's always a good time over here. So once again, please make sure you're subscribed and give this video a like while you're at it. Now, let's get started. So as we just saw in the last eviction episode, Kimo was just evicted in a 2-0 vote. Now, Kimo was pretty much the main target for Makensy and mostly everybody else for the majority of the week, but there was this point in time where the vote started to flip. They did dive into it a little bit on the show, but I believe that this idea first started with Cam. Kimo had gone up to Cam to kind of campaign for himself earlier on in the week, and honestly, at first, I just kind of brushed this whole thing off because I didn't think it was going to have really any effect. But I guess it did start to get Cam's head spinning just a little bit because Cam knows that Kimo is probably the most likely person to really take him to the end. At least more than Rubina would. So now Cam is slowly but surely moving on over to Team Kimo, which I do think that keeping Kimo would probably be best for Cam's game, but he does need to get Chelsie on board too. Now, from Chelsea's perspective, I don't really think there's any real reason for her to want to keep Kimo here, but Cam is still able to convince her that Kimo would be easier to beat in the comps and in the votes, which really I don't think is true at all. But nevertheless, Chelsie is actually starting to believe him a little bit.
I'm down to make the move for sure. It's just ensuring, it's just a 2-part thing, ensuring that Kimo knows we're rocking with him.
I think he does.
And then ensuring that Makensy is aware and not blindsided by the move.
Cam is also telling her here that Kimo would be the perfect person to take MJ out, and I think that's what's really helping to change her mind too. So for a second there, it's looking like both Chelsie and Cam are now Team Kimo. Even though Cam and Chelsea's votes alone are enough to keep Kimo, they still want to bring MJ in on this plan too so that she's not left out. So Chelsea's going to go up to MJ to try to sway her, but this is where she's going to start running into some roadblocks.
Rubina hasn't been in power to have control, but all she has is her words.
Yeah.
And what actions have shown through her words is that when she's trying to sway, the first people she throws under the bus is me and you.
Oh, no, I know.
One day closer to $750,000
I know.
is only going to further us feeling like threats to her.
MJ ends up pushing back a lot here, as she should, because this plan to keep Kimo doesn't really benefit her much at all. I mean, this is a good strategy for Cam and Cam only, and I think MJ is able to recognize this, but Chelsie isn't. So this decision went back and forth for a while, and when Thursday came around, even us feedsters didn't know for sure who was going to be going home. But as we see, this last minute plan ended up falling through in the end. I think Chelsie was eventually able to recognize that keeping Kimo really mainly benefited Cam's game, and as a result, Kimo was voted out. This leaves us with a final 4 of Cam, Chelsie, Rubina, and MJ all heading into the next HOH comp. And when the feeds come back on after the comp, as I predicted, we see that Chelsie has won HOH yet again. This cements Chelsea's spot in the final 3, and honestly, it probably cements her spot as the winner too. Especially after that jury segment we saw in that last episode. I mean, everybody was giving Chelsie her flowers there. Chelsie is now the one in power this week, but we all know that it doesn't really matter who she decides to put up on the block. The real power is going to lie with the veto holder this week. But Chelsie is going to decide on Cam and MJ as her nominees, just because I don't think she really wanted to make it known that she has a favorite here.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, I just don't want anybody to feel away because of a decision that isn't, at the end of the day, even in my control.
Oh, like...
Yeah.
Which I understand possibly putting me up to make sure that people
Don't
get me out.
suspect that.
Yeah,
I know.
and I get that. Which I'm understanding of as well.
Yeah.
I just ask if you
If
win
I
the
win,
veto.
I can do that.
Yeah.
If I want a veto, then I will put it around your neck.
Yeah.
And even though, again, it technically doesn't matter who Chelsie puts up, it still might help in the long run, just keeping Rubina off the block, because it just butters her up a little bit, because I think Rubina is probably the least likely person to take Chelsie through. So after the nominations were set, the final 4 veto actually took place pretty soon after. So we kind of already have this week laid out for us. When the feeds came back on after the last veto competition of the season, we see that once again, like I predicted, MJ has won this last veto. That's going to be her 4th veto of the season, and with a few HOHs under her belt too, I'm not going to lie, Makensy's resume is starting to look a little bit stacked. Now, it is totally possible that Chelsie threw this comp to avoid having to choose sides again, but we might just have to wait until the actual episode to find that out for sure. So now Makensy has the responsibility of deciding between Rubina and Cam. And I think for her game, it's probably best if Cam leaves now. Cam has been very vocal about seeing Makensy as the biggest threat in the game and wanting to take that shot. I mean, Rubina does kind of want to get MJ out too, but I think Rubina is a little bit more likely to stick with the whole girls thing. So from MJ's point of view, Cam should be the one to go. But if Chelsie is able to get into MJ's head, and I know she's gonna try, then Rubina could be leaving this week. Cam is probably more loyal to Chelsie than Rubina is, so getting Rubina out now would be optimal for Chelsea's game. And as we've seen in the past, MJ can be influenced to do what's best for Chelsea's game. Chelsie has already been planting a few seeds that Cam should stay, so let's see how well they grow.
Well, I mean, I guess she can.
If Cam wins, then he takes her. But I don't think it's going to happen. So.
You really don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. Because I don't think so either. I just want to make sure I'm not thinking incorrectly.
I don't think he is going to.
Makensy does still seem to be leaning towards keeping Rubina, but that decision still isn't set in stone yet. Her and Chelsie are probably going to go back and forth on this the next couple of days, so we're just going to have to see who gets their way. So that's all I have for today. Honestly, no matter what ends up happening with the veto this week, I could still most likely see Chelsie being our winner. Her and MJ are still the most likely people to win that final HOH. And right now, it's looking like they both take each other to the end, but of course, minds could still change. Of course, I want to know, what do you want to happen with the veto? Do you think Makensy should evict Cam, or should she try to evict Rubina instead? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, I'll be back here to update y'all if they ever come to a more finalized decision. But until then, bye.